why I'm doing this. This podcast is called Signs of a Sociopath Covert Narcissist. This is not therapy. I am not diagnosing anyone, and I am not providing clinical treatment. This podcast is based on my 18-year lived experience in a long-term relationship with a covertly abusive partner. Supported by research, observation, and pattern recognition. The purpose of this podcast is awareness, not comfort, not couples counseling, not excuses. If you are here for clarity, language, and understanding patterns you couldn't explain before, you are in the right place. Well, my name is Big Rocky. I'm 37 years old. I'm from Flint, Michigan. I hold a degree in psychology and business management, and I'm also someone who spent nearly 2 decades trying to understand why nothing ever fully added up in my relationship, no matter how much effort, empathy, or patience I gave. Why this podcast exists. I didn't wake up one day wanting to start a podcast about covert narcissism. I started researching because I had to. I was dealing with reoccurring behaviors that felt confusing, destabilizing, and emotionally draining, but never obvious enough to point at and say, this is abuse. Over time, I realized something important. The damage wasn't loud, it was subtle, repetitive, and strategic, I must say. Covert abuse doesn't start with yelling or violence. It starts with confusion. It starts with self-doubt. It starts with you explaining yourself over and over and over, while the other person stays calm, reasonable, and just concerned enough to look innocent. And slowly you start questioning your memory, your reactions, and eventually your sense of self. Most people don't leave these situations because they don't have the language for what's happening. They just know something feels off. This podcast exists to name the behaviors, the patterns, and the psychological tactics that keep people stuck, especially empathetic, capable, high-functioning people. Let me be clear about what this podcast is not. This is not about blaming. This is not about diagnosing your partner. This is not about reconciliation strategies. And this is not a space where harmful behavior gets minimized because someone had a hard childhood. This podcast is about patterns. It's about recognizing cycles, not isolated incidents. It's about understanding why accountability never shows up, why apologies feel hollow, and why you are always the one doing the emotional labor. This podcast is for people who have said, I can't explain it, but something isn't right. It's for people who are labeled too sensitive, too emotional, or too demanding, when in reality, they were responding to manipulation. If you are uncomfortable with direct language, this may not be for you. If you're here to defend abusive behavior or demand emotional access without accountability, this is not your space. But if you're ready for awareness without sugarcoating, stay. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about how covert abuse doesn't start loud, it starts confusing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is Signs of a Sociopath Covert Narcissist. I'm Big Rocky. This ain't therapy. This is awareness. And I'm out.